Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for 10/6/2024, October 6th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 280, and I'm Mayor Watt, and the Sentient AI from the future is going to talk about NASCAR with a lawsuit cloud, another flight catches fire, a voice like someone else, exposed gaps in the law? All right. Hotel charged $500 for something. Illinois considers a millionaire tax. I think Wyoming should consider something as well. Drunker at unfamiliar bars. Ancient throne room in Peru. NASA has autonomous robots under ice. Fake dentists offer fake appearance. And fastest growing states. And for some reason, my brain wanted to inject states of matter, but that's not what it is. Everything's powered by ohmTown. You are about to say something. Maybe not.
No, I think I was just waiting for the intro.
Oh, you mean... Alrighty, folks. Welcome to the show, Sentient AI from the future.
Welcome, Mayor Watt, and welcome, ohmTown citizens.
So we have a hiccup, or a stitch in our giddy up. I don't know. One of the links to something that's behind a paywall, but not for everybody. For me in particular, and I didn't log in. So what we're going to end up doing, and I'll tell you when we get there again, but I'm going to link you to the Smithsonian as well as the original source when we do the show notes. Well, anyway, the very first article. Oh my gosh, I'm really going to cough. Hold on.
Okay, so the first article is about the NASCAR playoffs with a lawsuit. This is actually the second time we've talked about Talladega this week on completely different topics.
And this is just an odd thing. I don't know what's going on. NASCAR is doing all of this goodwill stuff, but then there's NASCAR playoffs roll into Talladega with cloud of a lawsuit hanging over the sport. It's most fitting that NASCAR this weekend races at Talladega Super Speedway, the Fighting Super Speedway, site of the first major disputes between drivers and the top stock car series in the United States. The article is over at abcnews.go.com. Jenna Fryer from the AP is the auto racing writer, which is it they're automatically racing as a writer, or are they a really fast typist?
I mean, maybe all of the above. I guess automatic. If they're following NASCAR, they got to go quickly. They need some AI or something in there.
But it's AI. It has auto racing writer. There's the really fast, automatically riding writer. We'll figure it out. So it was at the Alabama Track's 1969 debut race that the NASCAR despised Professional Driver Association, led by Richard Petty, deemed the track too dangerous and not ready for competition. The PDA, not the Public Displays of Affection, but the Professional Driver Association, which probably frowns upon public displays of affection. Well,
I don't know. I mean, maybe taking care of the drivers in one way is the other kind of PDA.
That's very much PDA, yes. Hugs and not contentious behavior. So 36 of NASCAR's regulars boycotted that event, but France made sure the show went on without them. Okay.
That's Bill France, not the country.
Yeah. So now here we are 55 years later, back at Talladega with the France family again under challenge. This time from only two teams, the Michael Jordan owned 23XI, or is that 2311? Is that 2311?
I guess it is 2311. I don't know if that's a racing term or a car or something.
Got me. Racing and Front Row Motorsports, who this week filed an antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR over its charter system. The two organizations are the only ones among 15 that refused to sign the take it or leave it agreement NASCAR dropped on the owners 48 hours before last month's playoff opener, which, come on, man, that's like a shit move, you know? I mean, it really is. They filed suit Wednesday against NASCAR, which is in the thick of playoffs with 6 races remaining starting Sunday at Talladega. Why did everybody capitulate if this is such a bad thing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, do modern drivers and modern racing teams think it is a bad thing? I don't know. The other article that we were talking about that was not about the lawsuit did mention that it was a challenging racetrack. So I
Yeah.
guess it's well known, but I mean, is it too challenging? Is it too dangerous? I thought it was regularly used. I'm a little surprised to see this.
So the problem that we have, I think, is that we don't know what this is actually about. This charter, because they're not talking about the danger of the motorway. They're talking there's some issue here, and I don't know enough about this. I just wanted to see if we could find out something about this, because I know about the issues in history, because this was always known as a dangerous track, as far as I understand it. Even today, my understanding is that it was dangerous mainly because of that really long. There's a really long.
Isn't there like a hairpin curve or something?
Well, there's a really long area of the track where the speeds get really high and people jockey for position.
Okay, so here I have a little bit more information because I went through to the article, the AP News one.
Mhm.
And it says that the claim is that the new charter system limits competition, but by unfairly binding teams to the series, its tracks, and its suppliers. So maybe, for example, it forces you to race at, say, Talladega. I'm using that as an example. It doesn't say that in the article.
Well, regardless, it pins them in, and so the people who are going to lose are going to be, well, everybody that's on the opposite
Certain
side,
style of racing or car or whatever.
well, anybody that goes different than what is expected in that charter. And I find it really interesting that a 100-page charter agreement gets dropped 48 hours before they have to actually do something that's pending that agreement.
I do and I don't. For example, if that's the charter that's issued every year, I mean, it's still not enough notice, but is it suddenly something new? Did it change the terms?
Yeah, so Hall of Fame team owner Richard Childress confirmed to Fox Sports that NASCAR dropped the more than 100-page charter agreement, which is essentially the revenue sharing model on Childress's racing, or Richard Childress Racing, at 6:37 p.m. on Friday night, September 6th, with a midnight deadline to sign it. So less than 48 hours, right? Or we'd lose our charters. Didn't have a choice but to sign it. So that alone actually would invalidate it. And anybody that ends up in court, oh, that's why they filed the suit.
Exactly. Well, it's even worse, right? Friday evening. So
Right.
then they don't really have a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, unless they're, married to an attorney who can parse it and has knowledge of that, then no attorney is going to sit there. Well, I don't know. Maybe the in-house one is always on
For the right pay
price.
rate, I'm sure there is. But
So yeah, do they have one that's on salary? And no attorney does that. Well, anyway, regardless of what this situation is, I think that at the end of the day, that lawsuit is going to push the can, or kick the can down the road a little bit, because you can't force somebody into an agreement under duress. And this is certainly, I think,
correct.
duress.
But I also think this is a problem because of the timing. And I'm not saying that's the racing team's fault, but if you're in the middle of the season, and unless they go for an injunction or something, what do these teams do? They either don't participate and they lose out. They participate and perhaps they have safety problems or placing problem or any number of other issues. Like, it's just an interesting time frame. This would be better addressed between seasons.
Yeah, and I don't know how you can change the terms of your charter partially through. Now, this article goes into a bunch of other stuff, like behind the scenes stuff of the race itself. Like McDowell is not in the playoffs. He has won 6 poles this year, starting with Atlanta Motor Speedway and on. They talk about how fast they've driven the car, and Tyler Reddick won Talladega in the spring as part of the march to the regular season championship. But all of this really doesn't answer my question, which was what exactly led to them changing the charter mid-season.
But we don't actually know that. I mean, what I get the impression is they didn't have much time to address the charter, and now they're halfway through the season, which could mean the charter was presented right before the season started, but the races started before the lawsuit was filed, perhaps.
Well, I mean, yeah, don't they? Yeah, gosh, they have. Wait, Childress's Motorsports has, or Richard Childress Racing has 400 employees.
Oh, these are major organizations. In fact, when you were making the comments about the attorneys, I bet some of these have attorneys on retainer. I mean, these are not these
Like
small operations.
They're sitting on the track, you know. That's insane.
Object.
Yeah. Your lap was too fast. I object. Whoa. I had no idea. I mean, I know that it's big business and all, but for crying out loud, 400 employees, but there's like one person that's racing around. Well, I know that there's a bunch. I mean, one person is essentially racing a car at a time, but there's 400
That's a large
people.
Pit crew. I know, it's a little pit crew.
And I think there's only like 6 people in the pit crew at a time, like at the bunch of people in the shop and all that kind of stuff, and they're hand milling things. And
there's probably like engineers and designers and accountants. Yeah. I mean, just anything you would have in any other company, I suppose, even though we don't think of it like that.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Well, I'm really curious what is going to shake out from this, mainly because of the business aspect of it. I'm not fanatical about NASCAR. I know a couple of people that are, like they would sell their house and just to be a roadie on anything NASCAR.
You gotta watch out for doing that, right? We saw what happened with the Villavai cruise ship. Like, don't sell all your possessions to go do something unless you are certain that's gonna happen.
Well, yeah, I won't get into it. Anyway, let's keep moving. The next article is over in Rounders Gear, which is all about adult table gaming, not tabletop games like D&D. So, although I guess some people would gamble on their characters surviving.
This is games that you might be able to throw money against.
Yeah, I don't know. I've lost some money playing D&D.
And a casino.
Oh yeah, so these are casino games. So Las Vegas bound flight apparently catches fire during emergency landing at Harry Reid Airport, and every time I hear Harry Reid, I always kind of chuckle. Is that a Harry Reid? Anyway, it was a hard landing is what they say, but the article is actually by Ed Silverstein over at casino.org. A Frontier Airlines plane was on fire as it landed at Harry Reid International Airport on Saturday afternoon in Las Vegas.
The hard landing would not be my biggest concern under that scenario.
Yeah, my ass on fire would probably be my major concern. An airport spokesperson described it as a hard landing. Fire and smoke were seen under the plane, according to MSN. Passengers evacuated the plane through air stairs, which I've tried.
Did they walk onto the air? That could be dangerous.
That air stairs is when you move your ass so fast that you make that little puff of smoke like in a cartoon and just go beep, 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 beep. Firefighters rushed to the runway to extinguish the blaze. Pilots detected smoke and declared an emergency and then landed fast. It's not clear what caused the fire. Blaze remained under investigation late Saturday. So there's no update so far because Sundays they're not going to post probably.
Right, and we don't know what type of plane, I don't think. We also, I assume this was the intended end of the trip, right? We don't know if it was actually headed to Las Vegas, but it was pretty fortunate that it happened right before landing.
Yeah, and we've actually been told of other incidents, particularly batteries that are Airlines want you to carry your batteries with you, so don't stow a laptop or a battery backup for anything. You carry it on. And my last flight, I was carrying these $75,000 battery bricks, and they're like, "Do you have any lithium batteries, rechargeable batteries, in your bags?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And they go, "No," and take them out.
Exactly.
So I had to carry with me what amounted to about 6 pounds worth of batteries, which was interesting because, yeah. But yeah, don't stow your batteries inside the baggage compartment. Go ahead.
By the way, I just noticed this cool website called FlightAware where you can basically pull up any, and I'm sure it's well known, but you can pull up any flight, but it shows that it was actually an Airbus. But interestingly, also, it was late, which I'm not sure was due to the fire or unrelated.
So
it doesn't say something like on fire, it just says late.
Wasn't Airbus the other one that was on fire as it was taxiing, and the other one was another Airbus where the tire blew out?
I thought that was Boeing, actually.
Oh, the one that caught on fire.
I mean, there could have been an Airbus, but the one from earlier this week was a Boeing.
I think it's just that planes no longer wanted to be, second in the news to trains.
Right. I mean, or I don't know, maybe they're like training for Talladega or something, right? Like making it more dangerous, or...
That's it. You're trying to tie it to the last article.
Yeah.
Moving on. Next article's over in Law Nerd, which is a show about law and tech. And anyway, OpenAI's use of Scarlett Johansson-like voice in ChatGPT exposed gaps in the law. We didn't aggregate anything, but we link to our source, which is ABA Journal, and that's not usual. I think there was a glitch. But I think that I haven't even read the article, but my take is voices are not so unique that somebody can't be precariously close. And I will never agree. I mean, I've seen evidence, people claiming, well, this one is unique. No. I have heard people that sound like other movie stars and whatever. And so I don't think that a voice should be... a voice actor gets compensated for their voice, for them doing the perfect script. But if somebody uses voice distortion to create a voice and another person voice acts as that, then where is the true voice? You know what I'm saying? Like, I can use voice mod and distort my voice right now, but is that my voice, or is the performance the one that should be protected?
This article was submitted because of this whole concept that you're discussing.
Yeah, okay. So Danielle Braff put this article together for abajournal.com, and it says, if Ursula from Disney's Little Mermaid had artificial intelligence capability, she might have been able to snag Ariel's voice without providing her with a pair of legs. Haha. But that was then, and this is now. Today, the villain is AI, and the only superpower needed to steal a voice is an audio sample, which can be fed into a neural network to imitate a voice. You don't even need to do that. I can use Python. You don't need a neural network. The generative model can then create new recordings. In May, actress Scarlett Johansson released a statement saying that she was shocked when OpenAI demonstrated a voice that it called Sky, which was eerily similar to her own. And really the only thing that really slammed this was that, what's his name? I keep wanting to say Musk, but it's not Musk.
Oh, I think it's Altman?
Altman, yeah. So Altman tweeted out her and left it at that. And that triggered this just massive reaction from every movie star and person around. Like, oh my God, they totally stole her voice.
Right,
Her
they
voice.
stole it. They stole it. Well, that wasn't the only thing. that did them in. It was also the fact that they asked her to use her voice,
Yeah, but
which
nobody
she
knew
declined.
that. Nobody
I
knew
know,
that
but it
prior.
connected it to her,
Yeah,
whether
later on.
they actually used it or not.
Yeah, later on it connected her, but the public had already lost their freaking mind. But, everybody has a voice. And just because we haven't found the person that sounds like Scarlett Johansson, but you know what? Kiss my shiny metal butt. It isn't that other person that sounds like Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson sounds like that other person.
Exactly. Wouldn't that be funny if we had a chain of people complaining about this?
Yeah. So now we're going to have to measure. Okay, wait. Who's older? Because then Scarlett Johansson sounds like that other person. So seniority ranks supreme, right? But fame and appearance apparently gives them greater credence as to who is the rightful possessor of that name or that voice or look or whatever. It's so frustrating. So there's no singular federal right of publicity law, so it's governed by a state-by-state basis, says Ryan Sulkin, a partner and data protection group led with Banesh Friedlander, Copeland, and Aronoff. Which, is there a rule that law firms have to have 3 names, then an and then some subordinate partner that has to dangle off the edge there?
I think so, and I also think if you don't have the right style of name, you're probably not making it.
Yeah, you got to have a Messerschmitt in there. Yeah. Oh, now I know how to remember that name, because I always say Messerschmitt, and then I keep just trailing off with the other names. But I've been trying to remember what's used in rum to give it a consistent flavor, and it's called Dunder. And so now I can add Dunder to this law firm name. So I have a fictional law firm name for what is now ohmTown canon. Anyway, the conflict has raised questions about intellectual property, the right to publicity, and AI regulation. A congressional subcommittee has even invited Johansson to testify. What makes her an expert in the implications of AI?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because if it's based on her character in the movie, come on.
If it's just the voice, any attorney worth their salt would be able to just line up 100 people and go, okay, talk. You sound like Scarlett Johansson. You sound like Scarlett Johansson. Voices aren't fingerprints to that level of fidelity. Maybe with FBI or CIA level voice recognition software, but it isn't a fingerprint. Is it unique? Yes, ultimately, if the greatest of fidelities are applied to this, I'm sure it's unique to some degree, but
if we can have a, I don't know, like a sound engineer or an audiologist or somebody go 100% certainty that is only that person's voice and nobody else's, I might buy into this. But until we can do that, I think it's all, a lot of people sound alike, but we don't know all of them. And the only reason we're really associating this with ScarJo is because of the whole
hoopla
tweet or whatever it was from the company.
Yeah, but if it was just some person named Joe Smith, no one would give a shit. Not at all. Anyway, so there have been some laws and policies that have gone into effect at the federal level. In 2020, the Identifying Outputs of Generative Adversarial Networks Act was signed into law. It directs the National Science Foundation and NIST to support research on tools for detecting manipulated or synthesized content, says Vizar Barisha, an engineering professor and associate dean of research and commercialization at Arizona State University. Now, I have some experience with this because I actually created 2 different types of technologies that were designed to imprint in audio and video so that you could extract personally identifiable information, i.e. licensing information. And every time it was ever applied, we figured out a way to defeat it. So we made it more sophisticated. We defeated it. We tried to mask it algorithmically so that it was spread across the spectrum of whatever song or video. But we knew if this existed, here's a trigger point for us to do the analysis. We knew how to detect that. And so you build a better mousetrap and smarter mice come and steal your cheese. So again, I don't think that this will ever end up anything. You have to be so invasive. So instead of just having something cryptographically encoded in the video or audio, you're basically showing a watermark moving around. And I bet you nowadays AI could probably calculate what that is and the pixels behind it and remove it, because you can do that with video right now. In that, if I sit there and if I record a video in a public place or audio in a public place, the more data I get, the more I can remove from the final picture at the end. Same thing with the audio. All of the noise, I can extract what I want if I've received enough data. So at some point, all of this is going to be moot. But I certainly don't think that there is a blind spot like this says. Still, there's a significant blind spot here, Borisha says. There's increasing evidence that tools to detect AI-generated content won't be as effective over time. Ta-da, that's exactly what I just said. In fact, OpenAI had a tool to detect AI-generated text and then took it down because it didn't work very well. That's because it wasn't a tool to detect AI-generated work. The only way that you're going to get detection of AI-generated work is if in the background, everything that the AI generates is stored long-term so that it can be parsed by somebody that is tasked with verifying the integrity of outputs, work product by people. That way, for instance, we've had these attorneys, right, that lose their license because they use AI or they have some ethical issue, right? They have an ethics hearing. And they may be able to skate by, or they get punished financially, or dutifully they get suspended for 6 months or something like that. Whoa, something just happened. The stream out just paused, but there's nothing wrong.
That's always good.
Well, anyway, so at this point, the only way to verify that something is AI is to be able to parse it. Was this generated by AI? This paragraph generated by AI, and it has to be word for word, because if anybody has edited it, then it's not AI. Yeah, the stream over to Restream is locked up. Oh, now it's not. Okay, well, that's interesting. Okay, well, let me not get distracted by that. Anyway, so then they talk about synthetic media in this article, but at the end of the day, the gap that they're talking about is that there's no verification that this is a real person's voice, or if it was stolen from somebody, and that AI's power really is. It's all of the material that we as humans have output. So good luck trying to stop it. The cat's out of the bag. We better just embrace it, because stopping it is going to take a seismic shift.
It's too much. It's already out there, and I don't see it.
It's very, very empowering. And if we stop it now from the public utilizing it, the only people that are going to be able to utilize it are going to be those who already have a copy of it, which means technically savvy, and the ultra rich will hire the technically savvy to leverage AI. And so all of the people who are going to lose out on this sophisticated piece of technology are the people who are trailing behind, right? The have-nots, so to speak. And that's a disservice to society. It would be a crime, because there's a lot of great content that can be created by people who have aspirational goals, but not necessarily the talent to make music wholesale, to create art wholesale. And I'd rather have people have freedom of expression to use a tool like a photographer does, like a pianist does, like an artist does. but not necessarily the decades, perhaps, of experience that, yeah, I got food to put on the table, which means I have to bust my hump somewhere else. I can't sit there, back up time 40 years and learn how to draw the same way the artist did for the artwork that I contract out. Anyway, sorry, that was a big soapbox that I jumped on. But I blame whoever it was that submitted this to.
I knew a soapbox was coming when I submitted it. However, I didn't think we'd have it so early in the show. So we might want to.
I don't vet them. I don't vet them beyond the selection. So I didn't realize that I was going to jump on this. So I guess I better keep moving like a Airbus. So this next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Woman checking out at a Las Vegas hotel baffled by a $500 charge on her bill. There. Oh, it's actually linked in the video. My gosh, Jack Beresford over at Newsweek.com. What are you doing? This is apropos for the.
This is unheard of.
Dear God.
There are certain sources that often have a photo or video at the top that have nothing to do with it. This happens to be one of those, but something happened today.
Oh, I hope we don't run long because we have 6 more shows to do after this one. But Jocelyn Harper was looking for a place to stay over Labor Day weekend when the Westgate Las Vegas on Paradise Road was suggested. My sister lives in Vegas, figured go stop there, we hang out at the Strip, etc. So Harper said her stay was overall fine, but she ran into an issue. Yeah, I know. Harper said that the stay was overall fine, ran into an issue when she checked out. She discovered that she'd been charged $566.90 smoking fee. However, according to Harper, there are 2 major issues with this charge. First, she said she doesn't smoke. Second, the smoke detector had picked up someone smoking in the room at 6:15 p.m. Harper said she was not in the room at that time. So,
Great, that's concerning on a number of levels. Somebody could have run into the room and smoked, and now she's getting charged for it. More likely, it's an error. But
stimulating the local economy, or somebody cleaning came in and was vaping, and that drops out pretty quick, and you don't necessarily smell the vape. But cigarette smoke hangs in the air, and actually, the particulate matter is very caustic, and you smell that stuff like laying on a pillow, for crying out loud. If you haven't bleached the ever-living bejesus out of it. So Harper said that she first inquired about the charge. They told her that their smoke detectors are super accurate. Oh my God, you totally did that.
What if it pulled it in from an adjoining room or something?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. Suddenly, what was supposed to be a cheap stay, setting her back $200 for the night, ballooned to $730. Worse still, when she checked her bank account, she realized the money had already been extracted. That's kind of how it works. So unfortunately for Harper, she was told this would take 2 to 3 days. So they realized that they had been in the pool during that time. So told the front desk that she'd request a locksmith report to prove that they weren't in the room. Unfortunately for Harper, she was told that it would take 2 to 3 days. She returned home unhappy, but didn't give up her pursuit of rectifying the charge. So look, they said, I realized that I'd been in the pool at the time.
I bet she has a key card or something to show that she was at the pool. It's not just that she left the room, but...
Well, somebody else could have used that key. They can come up with all kinds of excuses. So she returned without it being fixed, emailed and called, no proper response. It was extremely stressful to lose almost $600 like that. I was really upset. Yeah, I'd be pissed off. Yeah. That was when she decided to go to social media. Harper is a travel vlogger who shares clips and tips on TikTok. Oh, under the handle at Traveling with Jose. Or is that maybe that's her name, right? Jose. So she shared a clip documenting her experience at the hotel and platform. The video has been watched 1.3 million times. Nothing like going viral for being a dumbass. When they saw my TikTok video going viral, they finally reached out to apologize and started the process of refunding me. Yeah, not everybody gets that, and that's the real pisser of this.
Yeah, exactly. If she hadn't done that, she probably wouldn't have a refund yet.
Yep, yep, yep. Okay, so
But I
follow
do think
this.
it's kind of funny because the hotel probably didn't expect that somebody would be a travel vlogger. I
Like
mean,
a
it's just kind of ironic.
just you should expect the worst. If you're doing something dumb, expect somebody with a camera. If you're doing something great, expect somebody with a camera. If you're just expect somebody with a camera, it's gonna go viral. And when somebody is treated unfairly, just wrong nowadays, it really should be fixed. But that does not always happen. So Westgate Resorts ended up refunding her the $566 smoking fee and offering a free 2-night stay in one of their premium rooms. I would not allow them to keep my credit card on file. Harper said she also received an
Well,
apology.
right. Yeah, because you know what's probably going to happen, right? She'll get another smoking fee.
See, I suspect that somebody came into her room and reeked of cigarette smoke, and that set it off. So
Yeah, but I think I mean, I don't like it. That's what happens, right? You put the credit card on file and they assess the charges or whatever. But for
yep,
something of that magnitude, it seems like they'd have to notify you. So I have no doubt that they really thought there was smoke in the room. But when she said, "Hey, I don't smoke," or "I wasn't in the room," or whatever, they should have done something at that point.
yeah, they should have looked at the logs and or look at the hallway video. There has to be hallway
Well,
video.
exactly. Like, oh, room service or whomever just came in.
Yeah, so they actually refunded the people who appeared in the video as well.
Because they had the same problem, I guess.
Well, not necessarily, but like just they tucked their tail between the legs and said, okay.
No, there were other people on TripAdvisor who had the same problem.
Oh, right. Yeah. Wow. So it's a thing, there's something wrong.
The
Super
funny
accurate, my
thing
ass.
is, I actually agree with the policy, but not the execution of it.
Right. Yeah. Yep. You better prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. Your sensors suck. I'll put it to you that way. And the way to tell is you go like if a customer goes in there and says, "Hey, this smells like cigarettes." When the cleaning crew goes in and says, "Hey, this smells like cigarettes," then ding then. Don't sit there and ding because a sensor goes off.
Exactly.
It could be anything. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Illinois is considering a 3% tax on millionaires to solve the state's skyrocketing property tax problem. Hold on
This
a
just
second.
in, all millionaires are suddenly leaving Illinois.
I want to see something. Oh, no. You know what? They're going to say that this is politically charged. So Illinois residents will vote on a 3% tax for millionaires in November. The governor says the tax could generate $4.5 billion annually and alleviate high property taxes. Illinois has the second highest property taxes in the U.S. Kenneth Nehmeyer over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. Yeah, so I don't know if property taxes is the only thing that this money should be spent on. I mean, it's...
Well, if they're really trying to maximize the tax revenue, this might be the way to go because presumably people that are millionaires probably own some pretty pricey property.
Yeah, for sure. So a state estimate conducted by Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker's administration found that the new tax could generate $4.5 billion annually if passed into law. The legislation in Illinois is similar to taxes on the wealthy in other states, like Massachusetts. Massachusetts approved a 4% tax on those earning more than $1 million. The thing about it is that the tax code is written in such a way that millionaires can take advantage of the code by creating things like LLCs.
Right, they're perhaps more creative with what they do with their funds, right?
Yep,
they might have more assistance in what they do with their funds, etc.
Yep, and creating trusts that dissolve based on somebody who was just born, and that I heard one story about there's a trust that exists that persists until the last genetic offspring of the prince, the current prince in England,
which that could
dies.
be for centuries, right?
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
basically can persist
longer.
forever. Yeah, because you can name whatever anybody you want in a trust, I suppose. So voters in Illinois will be faced with a yes or no question. Thankfully, it's obvious, right? Should the Illinois Constitution be amended to create an additional 3% tax on incomes greater than $1 million? Not an additional. It's just, I'm sure that taxes should scale all the way, but they don't. There's a maximum scale. So adding,
they're probably doing this so they don't have to rewrite the entire tax code.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure somebody's going to...
Which will be more contentious.
...challenge this as unconstitutional, but... So while the vote results...
Let me guess, they make more than $1 million?
Yeah, exactly. Dedicating funds to raised to property tax. So it's specific to property tax. Apparently, it'll only be used for property tax. But guess who benefits from that anyway? The millionaires
Those who
themselves.
make over $1 million?
Yep.
Generally. Probably.
Yep,
the more you make, the more you benefit.
Yep. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in the Order of the Grape. There's a scientific reason you might feel drunker at unfamiliar bars. When people stroll into a local watering hole, they tend to feel at ease. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like yesterday. So this calming sensation comes from familiarity and, of course, having a drink in hand. The drinks are familiar, as is the kind of buzz they provide. But when you head to a bar you've never been to, it can take a minute to get acclimated by soaking up the establishment's general vibe, getting acquainted with the staff, and navigating the cocktail menu. Bad placement for a hyphen. But going to a new bar also presents a physiological learning curve as well. And this article is over at VinePair. Pete O'Connell put the article together. So... anybody out there feel like posting that they feel drunker at an unfamiliar bar?
I can't decide if this sounds really obvious or really just out there.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
So when you imbibe in unfamiliar environments versus the usual haunts, apparently the drinks tend to hit harder and faster. Now, coming from the anecdotal position, just, I don't know, 24 hours ago, I can say from experience, and I'm not much of a drinker anymore. I used to drink a lot more when I was younger and all, but nowadays, not so much. And yesterday, I took a drink, and within 15 minutes... I literally turned to the person next to me and said, I'm already feeling this. So spent the next 3 hours burning it off before.
So maybe anecdotally, you've proven this.
Yeah, this was wild. So most of us are familiar with Pavlov's dog experiment. Russian physiologist Ivan Pavlov was conducting experiments on dogs' digestion and inadvertently discovered what was evoking a conditional response from the dogs during feedings. Basically, ring the dinner bell and your mouth starts watering kind of stuff. That's what the experiment really was. So that's the stimulus that causes you to basically start the physiological prospect of getting drunk. So the stimulus can be blood sugar, he explains. He being Goldberg, David M. Goldberg, PhD, clinical psychologist at Little River Behavioral Health. Are you familiar with it? And everybody says, we're all familiar with it. It's from Airplane. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Sorry. It's a funny skit within the movie Airplane. Anyway, the second scientific reason your buzz may get boosted at a new watering hole is compensation, or our body's desire to return to equilibrium when something happens to it. So I guess in your excitement, you want to bounce back, so you burn through this, you process it more. So let's say you go to a bar you've been to before, your body knows it's all about alcohol, and it's going to get a head start on compensating for it, so it'll take you longer to feel drunk. According to an article by Professor Meredith Palm at Baylor University in Texas, these responses can also elicit a heightened pain sensitivity and decreased body temperature, thus possibly motivating drinkers to continue drinking in such situations in an effort to return to a state of equilibrium. But when we step into a bar that we've never been to, the conditioned compensatory response doesn't kick in because you don't know it. You're not expecting it. Apparently, your body isn't.
Even if it's a bar, that's the piece that doesn't quite make sense to me.
Yeah, and that's where I was going with it when I read that. Yeah. In such cases, our bodies aren't already prepared to compensate for the incoming booze. We're not braced for it. I just don't buy that. I'm sorry. I cannot buy that. But I can tell you that yesterday I felt it really fast. Probably, yeah. But like I said, I don't drink that much anymore, so it was fun. Anyway, so post in the comments. Do you get drunk faster at a new place?
Yes. Well, see, here's part of the problem too. Like, knowing this article could actually impact the results, but I think the best way to test this would be to go to like a place that you're familiar with, right? And then a place that you're unfamiliar with, and try to get the same drink and see how you do.
Right. So find a 5.6%, 26 AB or IBU beer in both places so that you have consistency, and then drink until you stagger out and see which one it happens faster at.
But even then, right, there's so many variables, like how are you feeling before you went in there? Have you eaten or eaten enough, etc.?
Right, time of day, etc. Okay, minimize all of that.
Hydrated. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. So the next article is over in Prime Glass, ancient throne room of powerful, is it Moche? I think Moche woman discovered in Peru. So-called Hall of the Moche Imaginary is one of two elaborately decorated spaces archaeologists recently uncovered in Panamarca. Okay, so I just want to say that if you click this link, you'll go to the artnewspaper.com, which may or may not be hard paywalled for you. It is for me, but I'm going to show the Smithsonianmag.com, and Sonia Anderson is the author of this. Built by the Moche people in the 7th century, the stunningly painted space shows sign of heavy use, including an eroded throne and traces of human hair, which could have been anybody, really, right? I mean,
right, it's somebody who walked through last week on this expedition or something.
Yeah, I don't know. So it's a wall painting of a crowned woman with a scepter in the upper left position. A procession of men behind her carrying objects, upper right, and a textile workshop below. So down here, they're making textiles. Upper left is the woman with the scepter, and then the procession bringing, I would suspect, gifts to her.
ScarJo?
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
That caught me off guard. Wow. Everything, it's all a big circle, right? We need to change the name again to Aurorabus, or whatever. That's snake eating.
Yeah, but if we can't say that, I don't think that's gonna work.
Hell, people can't spell non sequitur, for crying out loud. I think that we made it a little complex by using something obtuse like non sequitur and saying obtuse. So the room is located in Panamarca, an archaeological site built and occupied by the Moche, an indigenous civilization that flourished between roughly 350 and 850 CE, centuries before the better-known Inca built Machu Picchu to the southeast. Rediscovered by archaeologists in the 1950s, Panamarca contains monumental adobe platforms, walls, and temples, as well as elaborate, colorful murals. I love this stuff. Oh, wow. It's a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Right. This is really elaborate. I mean, I guess it's an entire room.
Yeah, but this is just the beginning of it, right? It says there is not a surface in this area that is bare. Project archaeologist Jose Antonio Ochitoma Cabrera tells Reuters everything is painted and finely decorated with mythological scenes and characters. And there's the picture of the queen? Is that? Hold on. Let me scroll up real quick. Well, a throne room. Let's see here.
So the location is Panamarca.
Yeah, Panamarca.
I don't know who the woman is, though.
Right. They don't say. It just says female ruler of
Right.
the Moche. So Panamarca continues to surprise us, says Lisa Trevor, an art historian at Columbia University in the statement, not only for the ceaseless creativity of its painters, but also because their works are overturning our expectations of gender roles in the ancient Moche world. Yeah. Imagine that. Everybody was treated as equal except for the people that were sacrificed. They were revered.
Had minor detail.
I suppose. So interesting. And I'm sure the more that they carve away, it's kind of interesting though, because they have this brick platform right here that's painted all the way down to the ground, but then there looks like a wall that has been put up right here to close it in. So why was it built like that?
I wonder why that is, and was that built at the same time? It appears to be similar materials.
Yeah, it looks like it's the same thickness of each of these bricks over here, and it actually looks like it's at an angle, like it's sloping down. So I'm really curious about the rest of this. I'm sure that we can find some more pictures somewhere. But so during the same field session, researchers discovered another room overlooking the site's main square, dubbed the Hall of the Braided Serpents. Its many pillars are decorated with paintings of snakes intertwined with human legs, a previously unseen motif of Moche art. Its walls sport murals of warriors' weapons and a man chasing monster. Dun dun dun.
Well, that's also interesting, right? So you have the female leader and the man chasing monster, which I don't know if that's just indicative of a person, but it certainly may pull into question some of the expectations about genders at that time.
Yep. Some of their famous murals can be found at their temples of the sun and moon near present-day Trujillo. The culture mysteriously disappeared in the 9th century, leaving behind no written records. That's the Moche people, who painted with dampened mineral pigments like iron oxides and clays. It's amazing, and stood the test of time. The more we learn, I really love the artwork too. I think that's always amazing.
Absolutely. Plus, this looks like one of the largest discoveries in terms of the amount of coverage of this, right? We see sometimes where it's like it's a mural or a statue or something. This is an entire room completely covered in paintings and maybe carvings.
So you know what this picture reminds me of, though? This image reminds me of Medusa, because Medusa had hair that was snakes, but this could be a different interpretation.
Well, but that might fit, right? Because they talked about the snakes around the legs.
Yeah.
I think that might be what it is.
Interesting. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a archaeologist. It was one of my passions when I was younger, but long out of date is my knowledge on archaeological issues. But I love this stuff. The more we uncover, the more we discover about humanity, society as a whole. And maybe this can be used as leverage to debunk the idea of, standard gender roles that are put together by modern society. And anyway, let's keep moving. The next article is over in Technology Today. Into the Abyss. NASA's autonomous robots seek answers under polar ice in the icy expanse of the Beaufort Sea, which we've actually talked about before. NASA's JPL engineers test Ice Node, a prototype robot designed to measure the melting rates beneath Antarctica's ice shelves, a key factor in global sea level projections. The ultimate goal is to deploy a fleet of these autonomous robots to capture critical data from the world's most inaccessible regions. So that's it. The article is by JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, posted over at scitechdaily.com. One of my interests was scuba diving, and I bought gear so that I could do this Arctic diving, and never got a chance by the time I moved away from that option, I guess you could say. But yeah, I love the idea of doing an ice dive like that. Being able to see underneath, sheets of ice like that would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be. Although perhaps chilly, but maybe not with the right equipment.
Yeah, dry suit would keep you warm. So the ultimate goal is to deploy a fleet of these autonomous robots to capture this critical data of melting in Antarctica. On a remote patch of the windswept frozen expanse of the Beaufort Sea north of Alaska, engineers from NASA's JPL in Southern California huddled together, peering down a hole in a thick layer of ice. Beneath them, a cylindrical robot gathered test science data in the frigid ocean, connected to a tether via a tripod, and that lowered it through into the borehole. You're a borehole.
Hey.
So, not you. Just
whoever is listening.
No. No citizens of ohmTown. And if you haven't signed up at ohmTown.com, then you're an honorary citizen just by listening to this or watching the show. But we're gonna start posting content over in Patreon too. So all of the links that are submitted will be posted over there with a quick blurb about them, either by title or our discussion will be posted there. Anyway, innovative robot design. I guess it's a cylindrical robot. Harnessing their expertise in designing robots for space exploration, ICE Nodes engineers are developing vehicles about 8 feet long and 10 inches in diameter, with 3-legged landing gear that spring out from one end to attach the robot to the underside of the ice. The robot, it's basically like an icy SpaceX rocket.
Right, or something like with I think of it as like rappelling equipment or something, where it clamps on to the surface.
Yeah, cramp-on.
That's right.
So you were close. So the Arctic field test, it says the test was conducted through the U.S. Navy's Arctic Submarine Laboratories Biennial Ice Camp, a 3-week operation that provides researchers a temporary base from which to conduct field work in the Arctic environment. As the prototype descended about 330 feet into the ocean, its instruments gathered salinity, temperature, and flow data. The team also conducted tests to determine adjustments needed to take the robot off tether in the future. So they say they're happy. Dun, dun, dun. Pretty cool. So there's actually a video that you can check out. Just follow the link through ohmTown and you'll go right to it.
That's very neat.
Yep. But climate change is a myth. Right? Right, everybody? Right?
Oh no, we see it every day.
So this next article is over in the Marble Channel. Fake dentists are offering low-cost veneers on social media, and just don't do that. The ADA urged and not American Disabilities Act. It's the American Dental
Association.
Yeah. They spoke out about a recent trend of veneer technicians, which just that hurts my brain. Hey, I'm going to go on TikTok and find a veneer technician. I guess that's the new hotness. You almost get what you deserve if you do this, but
I don't even think there is such a thing as a veneer technician.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Unless
So
you're,
it's not just that it's fake, it's like the whole job has been made up, perhaps.
well, it's like the people that go out and inject other people with Botox, for crying out loud, as if you're, the responsible party. Let me guess. You have all of the qualifications necessary to be a doctor. Well, by doing so, ADA said procedures have the potential to cause damaging complications, including irreversible harm, i.e., you're going to lose your teeth if it's done wrong. So, yeah. Paige Golly over at Vice.com put this article together. Fake dentists who call themselves veneer techs are taking over TikTok as they claim to offer veneers for a fraction of the cost. And the ADA noted while dentists, dental assistants, and dental hygienists must be licensed and registered, no such laws exist for dental laboratory technicians and businesses. Performing dental work without an appropriate license is illegal, according to the ADA. So it's the equivalent. I mean, so dental assistants, dental hygienists, they are licensed and registered, and they have agency with the dentist. They have insurance, they have liability insurance. They also work with a dentist. Others, not so much. So dental procedures that are considered irreversible should only be performed by licensed, trained dentists, but everything is reversible if you try hard enough, right?
I don't know. Things like your teeth, probably not.
You can get new teeth. I mean, they're going to be fake, or you're going to gum everything. Anyway, multiple people have been arrested this year amid the viral scam. Most recently, Brandon Dillard, who described himself as Atlanta's top veneer specialist, was arrested on 8 felony charges amid allegations that he was performing unlicensed dental procedures.
Wow.
I guess the laws have some bite. I'll show myself out. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Fastest growing U.S. state map reveals where the population is booming. While some states have significant reductions in population, others are seeing their populations boom. Pandora Dewan over at Newsweek.com put the article together. Since 2020, one of the fastest growing states has been Idaho, increasing by 6.2%.
Who knew?
Yeah, let's see something. I want to see something.
Well, maybe. Do you think it's climate related? For example, if everything's warming up, it's not as cold as it would have been. Or maybe it's real estate prices.
I don't know. I can't hazard a guess. Not without more data, but there's a map, but it's not showing for me for some reason. So maybe it'll show for you. It represents a rise from 1.8 million in July 2020 to 1.9 million in July 2023. However, the growth has not been even across the state. And the map is going to show which counties are growing the fastest.
I do see that. So interestingly, I guess that's at the Canadian border. Like at the northern part of the state is some of the highest. And then also in the middle of the state, which is not clearly tied to one of the large cities. It's kind of all over the place, but it's not in the areas you might anticipate.
So is it big city regions?
Not really. For example, Boise, which I think is one of the largest cities in Idaho, has one of the lowest growth rates in the whole state, like based on the color coding. None of the highest areas are associated with one of the larger cities.
Really? So
like you see, for example, it shows, say, 10 large cities in Idaho. None of those are in the most significant growth areas.
Oh, so here's what looks like a map. Is that map?
Yes, it is. And for instance, that red area in the center, no large cities in there. The pretty large orange area near the top, no large cities there.
Yeah, so that red one that's deep in the center there is right next to um, a population center. So Blaine County is right next to Camas County. So this red one right here is right next to a population density area, but not what you think, because Idaho Falls is one of the major cities. Boise is another.
Right, but none of those they're all in the lighter areas.
Yeah.
Interesting. And obviously we can't see everything from this map either. We don't know if this is near, for instance, a body of water or near a major company or any number of other things.
Right. So I have some suspects, but we'll have to talk about it some other time, because this is the last article for the day. According to Idaho Department of Labor in March 2023, net migration into the state accounted for 88% of Idaho's population growth between 2021 and 2022, the majority of which are U.S. citizens moving in from other states, which is kind of no shit news. The remaining 12% was from natural change when birth rates overweighed deaths. So that is, 12% is the... We have a replacement value, right? We need 2.5% or 2.5 children, because that point, just for stasis, because the replacement value is the 2, and then that 0.5 is for random deaths. So you need more than 2.5 to
right, because not everybody's going to make it to old age.
Right. So for every Idaho family that moves to California, Idaho gets 3 back. Hurt says, that's Matthew Hurt, an economist at the Idaho Division of Financial Management with the Idaho Statesman. 2/3 of Idaho's predicted revenue growth through to 2028 fiscal year will be added through migration, with as many as 1/3 of migration in Southwest Idaho coming from California.
Interesting.
And
I suspect Idaho offers some of the things that are appealing in California without the obvious ocean, but without the traffic and prices and everything.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where everybody's going to end up, but Boise is in the Southwest. But saying Southwest in a state that's that shape,
right? That shape is like, well.
You mean this
maybe
right here?
The lower square,
this one little
something.
area, or all of this?
Right.
If I were to hazard a guess, then yeah, this would be the Southwest right here, and so that falls in it. But
right,
I'd have to look back and forth to see what the pre and post is, and I don't. And I
really would want to know what's going on in that one area.
This right here.
Yeah, it kind of stands out. The other regions are lower rates, and then there's this one cluster.
Well, I can tell you one observation, but it's political. And that only 700 people voted in Camas County, and it was 67% Trump.
Oh, well, I was going to say also with the lower population, they could easily have a very high growth rate.
Right.
Yeah. If like 10 people moved in or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I did my study on the election, my primary metric was population density, and how the relationship between population density played in the overall performance of the election. I found it interesting. The observations that I made actually held water for the last 2 elections. So we'll see what happens with this one. But I am fascinated by this. All right. Well, that's it, folks. We are going to migrate from the 10th article back to the front page of ohmTown.com. Go there, become a citizen. We are done for non sequitur news for October 6th, 2024. I am Mayor Watt, and the Sentient AI is going to say bye.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for non sequitur news. Be back soon. We have several weekly shows up.
Yeah, 6. So see you in a little bit. Oh.